public hearings, so someone will remind me at 7:15 and 7:30. Are there any, hearing of visitors on the agenda items for this evening? No? Okay, well then we'll go ahead and get started. The first item on our agenda is to approve the generator maintenance for East Eden. We did the approval for the generators for the rest of the town buildings, I believe last meeting. And it was brought up that East Eden was not on that, and this year we made arrangements to include East Eden Fire Hall on the generator maintenance list. But it didn't make it up on our annual maintenance, so this will be added to our annual maintenance. And so I'm requesting approval to add East Eden and approve this at the amount of $795.
Second.
And just to amend mine, I'm just gonna add that it's Cummings.
Oh, okay. Amend my second.
Anybody have any questions?
Is the inspection happening every year?
It's yearly, yeah.
They do a complete oil change and tune up on once a year, and they check them over 6 months later.
And how much is a generator?
How
Like
much
if we were to replace that generator? We were just,
East Eden?
yes.
Oh, yeah, replace that one, you're probably talking 20,000.
Oh, okay.
There was just some questioning on earlier and on
The one in
whether it
town
seemed like a
hall?
lot or not, so. we
Probably be
just-
close to 40.
That was it.
So it's, you take care of it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Bob, and I appreciate your help with all of our generators, but specifically with getting this together for us. So any other questions? All right, all in favor? Aye. Oppose? Abstain, motion carried. All right, our second item for the night is approval of the air monitoring quote for the controlled demolition. This is actually going to be paid by the county, who's paying for our entire demolition, but we need to approve it. We received two bids, one from Labella and one from, what was the other company's name? AMD, I believe it was called. We ran these by the county, and they said either one. We typically go with the lowest bid, so we'll be doing that. So I'm going to make a motion to approve Labella for the air monitoring quote, for controlled demolition. And I'm going to approve it as written in their bid. It's a not to exceed amount cannot be done because their time is based off of the demolition time, so it could change depending upon. The quote we have and had from both was a 2-day quote. It could go longer and it could go shorter. So we talked to them on the phone. They believe it will be less than the $1,075 that's proposed, but I'm not going to do it not to exceed amount.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain, motion carried. And just so you know, Emily, that is for, I just want to give you the address.
The address
Oh, here
of
it
the
is,
house.
for 9723 New Oregon Road. All right, last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, we had the fire budget hearing. There were no visitors to be heard. And tonight we're going to approve the fire budget as part of our town budget. The tax rate for our fire budget will be $1.32 per thousand. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Nope.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, motion carried.
Did you do a motion?
No.
I'm motioning to approve the fire budget.
Trying to stop you.
Thank you, at $1.32 per thousand.
I will second that.
And it is, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained, motion carried. Thanks, Emily.
I didn't make that.
Okay, so the next one, last meeting, we had a public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Program. We did have one suggestion about maybe incorporating playground equipment for youth that are in need, handicap. And so we looked into that. Our recreation director, Amy Porter, actually went out and researched it. We came up with a project. We were excited about it. Unfortunately, special need playground equipment cannot be utilized in the Community Development Block Grant. It's excluded as part of the program, so we can't include that in this grant. We are going to move forward with the senior car request. We're looking at a small SUV Ford Escape Light with all-wheel drive. Our current vehicle is a 2007 Chrysler Pacifica. It has somewhere around 95,000 miles and a lot of maintenance required. Also, we have difficulty finding drivers in the winter because they're nervous about using a car without all-wheel drive. So we're very excited to have this project. I believe the grant amount was for around $27,000. And so that grant I wrote yesterday. We will be sending it in tomorrow. So I'll make a motion. Actually, I have a resolution, don't I? Suggested, yeah. So the resolution will be to sign, submit, execute a contract with Erie County Community Development Block Grant, ECC DBG program for the following projects. Upon approval of the ECC DBG, we are having number 1 project as the senior car replacement, and our second will be the rural transit program, which we support each and every year. Motion to approve, that's a motion.
Motion to approve?
I'll second. Anyone have any questions? All right, all in favor? Oppose? Abstain? Motion carried. Okay, our second item, we had this on the agenda last week. This is part of our water project. After further review with Rich, Bob Petrocarlo, Lisa, myself, and our attorney reviewed, we have amended the equivalent dwelling units assigned. They're in front of you. Are there any questions?
None, I just want to thank Bob and Lisa and you for all the work that you guys did. This seems like I like this much better than it was before.
Well, you've done a lot of
Thank you.
work on it too, we appreciate it, and it's an interesting project. I feel like we see the light at the end of the tunnel, we're almost there. This was just another item we can check off the list. So we're excited about it, and it will eventually, this sets the rate of basically what replaces our maintenance. Yeah. All right, any questions?
Nope.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the amended equivalent dwelling unit assignments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. I would just note that it's the revised from 10/23/2019. All right, the next item, the town has been participating in the USDA revolving loan fund program. Since I've been here, no one's has not utilized it. We've advertised it several times. I think it was a really good program for people who were looking to borrow at a better rate when interest rates were a lot higher. Fortunately, for our economy, it's easier and less expensive to do that through your bank now or other means. And so we have been holding on to quite a bit of money for this program. And they are asking, since it's been advertised and unused, that we replace or we return the funding for that. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the closeout of the revolving loan fund. The amount that will be returned is $58,941.21.
I will second that.
I would just also like to add that we did have 3 businesses that participated in this, and that there is no principal remaining balance on those, so those are closed out. All right, I'll make a motion, or we already did that, so all in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carried.
Who's that?
Bless you. Oh, Rich.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item on our agenda is, no, I skipped one. Okay, our next to last item is the OnSolve. So I had a meeting with our Code Red representative, and that is the emergency system that we use to notify residents of anything going on. They can elect to be in the program. They can receive an email, they can receive a phone call, a text message. And so there was some discussion about maybe upgrading, and I feel that our town has what we need, and we pay quite a bit for it. So we threw in a free feature for us. So I have to, but it amends our service agreement, even though there's no change in charge. It's a free service, but we're gonna have to vote to amend it. It will now include the annual Code Red weather warning subscription. So residents can opt to have this option, and if there is bad weather around, it will alert them through an app. And it's solely up to them if they wanna be participating in that. One of the other things too that we learned is we can do a text to subscribe, and it's a lot easier for our residents to sign up for the program in general, so we've been utilizing that as well. That's already part of our contract that we have. So it was a good call. So I'll make a motion to amend, or to approve the amended service agreement for OnSolve Code Red
Second.
at no price change. All right, all in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carried. Alright, we just have a few minutes till our first. Got one more. Oh, we have a snowplow, I'm like one ahead of my check. Yeah, we have time. Alright, the snowplow contract, this is something we do every 3 years. I was, the lead negotiator for the towns this year on the snowplow contract with the county. We were able to get a 10% increase over 3 years, so I think it's 3.5%. And that's a 1% increase from the previous contract. So this is the agreement for that. Ron wanted me to let everyone know that included in this contract are the lane miles, and he approves of that. He'll sign off on them, I believe. But it is included in the contract. It shows our lane miles, where we plow. And so this is a shared agreement that we have with the county to plow the county roads. And it's easier for many of our streets. We don't do all of the county roads, but a lot of them, so that we can get the roads done quicker. And they make a lot more sense with our plow routes. So this will be a 3-year contract with the county. Again, the increase will be 3.5%, 3%, and I'll make a motion to approve the contract from 2019 to 2022 with Erie County for the intermunicipal snow removal and ice control agreement.
Second that.
Oh, maybe I do.
Well,
Looks like I have where it is. Nope, I don't. We didn't do this. No, we're good. I only did that for Bob, according to him.
Emily, they do need to change the clerk on that
Yeah.
at some point.
We're gonna do that, yep. We're crossing it out. He just said to cross out and, add in the new people. All right, all in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carried. All right, perfect. So I'll make a motion to end regular session and go into our first public hearing for the town budget.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain, motion carried. All right, so we do have some information to talk about before we hear visitors. You should be able to find our town budget. We've put out a few for you. along with a pie chart that I'll discuss briefly of the breakdown of our taxes. I do want to make very clear that our overall tax increase is 3.71%. We've had quite a few people feel that and think that our taxes were going up 15 or 12%, and I just want to make very clear that our increase is overall 3.71%. I'll go through some of these. We do have a 12.78% increase in our general fund. There's really just a few issues why, and areas that I'll point out. The main one is it is addressing pending police retirements. So we just completed a police retirement last year, and we have 2 pending police retirements for this upcoming 2020 budget, which took up a bunch of our, it took up all of our reserves last year, but for that particular area. But we've replaced and have to account for those going forward. Also, due to the code enforcement officer position in 2013 being reduced to part-time, it has been one of the, how do I want to say this? So, our code enforcement and building department has not been able to keep up with the amount of work that our residents expect and need. And we've recognized that as a town board, and we've moved it back to a full-time position. So last year's budget and this year's budget reflect that increase. We've had several, we had 1,700 open, when I started, 1,700 open permits. We have residents who complain about properties that we can't get to. We have inspections that have to wait, and we're really trying to fulfill those obligations, go through our back log and get through all of that. But this town deserves a code enforcement officer, has enough work, if not more, for a full-time code enforcement officer. So we're increasing that. That's reflected in our general budget as well. And then last year, our recreation was 4.5 weeks. We're restoring the recreation back to 5.5 weeks. And also we saw another reduction in the court fees, so our revenue was down as well.
I appreciate your clearing that up, because I know a number of board members have had phone calls. I know I have had a number of phone calls and people I've been approached thinking that there was a 12% tax increase. So thank you.
The next one is highway. This is a 1.93% increase. Ron basically said, of course, we're always very conservative. The economy has allowed us to start our paving again, which we're very excited about. The 1.93% is basically representative of our straightforward contractual increases. Our streetlights are very minimal. It's less than a penny at 1.56%, and our fire that we just approved at 2% overall, although I believe it's, I have that incorrect in here. It's 1.93. Anyway, I want to say that our water, that depends on the district that you're in. I can tell you that the debt is decreasing. And that the majority of residential customers will see also a reduction in their maintenance, and that's mainly in preparation for the water turnover. Also, refuse, we are increasing $6 this year. That $6 will include 2 additional larger bulk pickup days. And so in June and October, there will be a bulk pickup on the same week that we normally have, but you'll have up to 10 items that you can put out. This is answering a bunch of our residents who wish that we had an increase in the amount of bulk that you can put out. We felt that June and October are good times. They are coinciding with the larger garage sale that we have in our town and spring and fall cleaning. The other parts of that will, for the increase, are our 2% increase on our annual contract. And one thing that we are finding with refuse is highway allows us currently to drop off brush, and we pick up a lot of brush. We have a lot of people who drop off, and they bring large diameter tree trunks, and it's becoming very costly, where we used to be paid for those types of chips, and I don't know the whole terms of all of them, but we now have to pay to have someone do that. It cost our town so far this year $30,000. So we will be adjusting and going to similar restrictions as other towns, where we'll have restrictions on diameter of tree trunk that you can drop off. That will be happening most likely next year sometime. Ron's looking into what we should probably be doing. Otherwise, the refuse will continue to go up. And maybe there'll be another time where they will be out of the chips that they need and we'll get paid for it again, but it's becoming quite an issue for our town. I think that's it. Oh, and then I wanted to just real fast go over the pie chart that we put out there. This will be on our website tomorrow as well. I have noticed, when speaking with a lot of residents lately, a lot of residents feel that they have paid their town taxes this month, and that was their school taxes. And so I wanted to break out the difference, and also to see, everybody to see exactly what percentages of your taxes are, where they're going, how much they actually are. So for example, the school tax was $3,142.95, which is 53% of this pie. Of course, this is prior to your STAR rebate, because everyone's STAR rebate is different. That's very large if you want to compare that to the general town tax of $260.15. And this is, thank you, off of a $100,000 assessed home. So if your house is assessed less, it will be a little less than this. If it's assessed greater, it will be a little greater. Our average home is about $100,000 assessed, so this is a glimpse of what an average home in Eden would reflect that. So for $260.15 in our town, you receive police service, which is almost 30% of our general budget. You receive your town clerk, your supervisor's office, your EMS, so your ambulance service. What else? What am I forgetting? Recreation. Quite a bit of services. And so, I think our town, the whole history of it, has done very well. Highway, you have your roads plowed and your streets paved for $398.94. Our water, which will continue to decrease, is at $252 a year. You can turn on your shower and have running water when you need it. So our fire protection is at $132.17. Anyone who's ever had to utilize their fire company would appreciate that. They can appreciate that that's a good value. And to have your garbage picked up, including all totes, we're at $201 for refuse. And I would like to point out that that's lower than most of our surrounding towns. Our refuse contract was up 2 years ago when we went to totes, and we were looking at a 22% increase. And I calculated it out, I didn't bring it with me tonight, what that 22% increase would look like today, and it's a lot higher. The town of Boston just redid their contract, and their garbage went up. They were at like $180, and they're paying $230, I believe, somewhere around there, on their new contract. And that's because they didn't go to totes, and they are keeping everything the same, and so they weren't able to adjust the service like we were able to do. So Boston is a good example to look at what our town could have looked at if we hadn't made those choices to move to the tote system and doing the every other week recycling pickup. And one thing I would like to mention also with recycling is that our recycling is over 50% higher than it used to be. And I know recycling is kind of a, difficult subject right now because China's not taking our recycling, but in reality, we still need to recycle as human beings, and our recycling is processed that way, and it's able to reuse the things that we're reusing. And so I think it's fantastic that our increase in our garbage recycling was that much. sewer, $644 a year, it's 11%, and the county taxes are $846.51. So if you look at the pie chart altogether, your town section is obviously the smallest section, and we're very proud of that, and happy, but I just would like everyone to know the difference. You pay your town taxes in February, March timeframe, and you pay your school taxes in the fall. And we appreciate Emily collecting those, both. All right, so now this is time for the visitors to speak. Does anyone have anything they'd like to say regarding the town budget? Okay, board members, anything else? All right, I'll make a motion then. Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Yeah. Yep, sir, yep, so we're in the public hearing for the budget. We'll get to that as soon as we leave this, we'll go to public hearing for that, or for the visitor hearing, okay? Does anyone have anything on the budget? No. Okay. Oh, Ed.
General fund did go up 12%, and it's a 28-cent increase, which is unheard of as far as I'm concerned, so I just wanna.
I mentioned that it went up 12.78%, and I
Yes.
mentioned the reasons why.
Right, 28 cents,
Uh-huh.
so, to me, that's just, I guess it's unacceptable.
Well, we had a bunch of pensions that came in that we didn't put
I
money
don't see
aside
that in
for
the-
in the
in
past,
the-
so
I
we had a
don't
lot
see
to
that.
pay.
It's in the reserve section.
I
So we
yeah,
had a
it's-
$464,000 shortfall when I took over as the town supervisor. And we have contracts that we have to obviously abide by. And so we have aggressively been trying to put away for those. And we had a police retirement last year, and we have 2 pending police retirements this year that had to be addressed in that budget.
And
Where-
we have
where
future
does that
highway
appear in the budget?
retirements.
It's under the reserve section. What is the?
The reserves are what we put away this year, but that sick pay reserve is an accumulating over the years, account.
Yeah, I see that sick bank going up 10,000 and for the police and 5,000 for the general. Is that what you're talking about when you say you're covering some anticipated retirements?
No, not the state
That was the year
retirement.
Yeah, I don't see where the reserves are in here.
It's the very end. It's like the last appropriation account under the general.
You have a page number?
Page 4.
Yeah, the interfund transfers, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sick bank for the police went up 10 and sick bank for the general went up 5 as far as, or is it 6? I can't read my writing. So, all right, that's 15,000.
But that's not 15 cent police.
Altogether, I think that one went up
Okay,
like
okay.
17,000.
Went up 17,000 this year. I believe it went up quite a bit last year.
Yeah.
We've been trying to.
We've been able to take the 400
Last year, and we had to add it back in.
and we
this
had to
year.
add some back in, yeah. So there was a $464,000 shortfall when I took over as supervisor for contractual agreements that we had. If everybody was to retire, we would have to pay out $464,000. We were short that amount. Each year we had to figure out how we can increase that in order to meet the pending retirements. So we've been working on that as best we can, trying to keep under the tax cap, which we were able to do this year because last year we had some carryover from our budget. We have 2 pending police obligations for retirements coming up this year. So, that's just a portion of why. I also mentioned that it was going up because of the restoration of the full-time, code enforcement officer amongst some other things. So I recognize that sometimes these things, you know, come to a head, but, proper budgeting when you are agreeing to specific contracts should have proper planning and we should have had reserves in order to pay that out. So that's what we're left doing now, and that is some of the reason why we have to have that increase. We've been able to, decrease that deficit by 46% in the 4 years that I've been here. Okay, does anyone have any other comments on the budget? I'll make a motion then to leave this, the town budget hearing and go into the override of tax cap, hearing.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carried. It's 7:30, we're not overriding the tax cap this year. We did, as I just stated, have carryover because our increase was so minimal last year. So we did, utilize that carryover, we are under the tax cap, which we're very excited about. However, we always do hold this public hearing because there's always a chance that something catastrophic could happen. And it now, let's knock on wood, between now and when we have to approve it, so we hold it as mandated by the state. But as of now, we are not going over the tax cap. Does anyone have anything they wanna ask about that or talk, or any comment? No? Okay, I'll make a motion then to leave the public hearing and go back into regular session.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carried. So we can go into the hearing of visitors now, Mr. Artmeyer, if you were,
I just want to know if any news happening?
with the solar farm.
Yes.
It's my understanding that, it went into a positive deck through the seeker program, so that, or through the seeker process, so that just went out, and it goes out for comment now. It's still with the planning board,
Oh, okay,
okay?
thank you.
You're welcome. Any other hearing of visitors? Bill?
Just want to bring it to everyone's attention that we have a chicken barbecue for the police department in the fire hall. So we'll have his tickets, Bob Spicky and myself, or any.
Wanna buy tickets?
No, they're buying them from me, Bob.
I have already told Glenn Kerwin last night that I would purchase. Yes.
Anybody can buy them, now. All benefits us.
Anything else? Alright, anything, and you guys have nothing? Alright, I'll make a motion then to, adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?